Martin Ødegaard becomes the first player in the history of the game to ever get an injury.
Martin Ødegaard suffered an ankle injury.
All the talk has been on Martin Ødegaard.
Martin Ødegaard was forced off injured.
The sad news is that Martin Ødegaard was carried off in tears.
It is an absolute disgrace.
A big concern for Arsenal.
The injuries are piling up for Arsenal.
It's the worst possible news for them, really.
That it could be a small sprain, there could be an ultrasound or an MRI.
In terms of Ødegaard, this is a real concern.
It's causing a great deal of pain for the Arsenal midfielder.
It is an absolute disgrace.
The Arsenal media loving continues. It rumbles on. The shedding of a tear for Arsenal as they lose their talisman, one of their best midfielders. They've already lost Declan Rice to suspension, and now Martin Ødegaard has received an injury. I wish him well, but I don't remember those wishes being given to Kevin De Bruyne. I don't remember all of the loving that the media has shown Martin Ødegaard and just zoned in on the focus of how it affects Arsenal. When Kevin De Bruyne got injured last season, for 2/3 of the season, he didn't come back till gone Christmas, well after Christmas. I think it was like February, wasn't it, or March? Then Kevin De Bruyne came back. You know, for the final third of the season. 2/3 of the season, Kevin De Bruyne was gone. And then they spoke about the squad depth as the excuse as to why City is still doing good. Oh, well, they can afford all the players. Do you know who replaced Kevin De Bruyne? Phil Foden. And how much did he cost? Absolutely nothing. Straight out of the academy. Could you not do that? Could not another football club not do that? You know, you've not got an academy. Woe is me. We've not got an academy. Rodri, what if he gets injured? Kovacic. You're going to sign Kovacic. How much did he cost? Just about 20 million? No one can afford that, no. Manuel Akanji, he's stepped in for quite a few players. How much did he cost again? 15 million? Yeah, it was that massive amount of money. How much did De Bruyne cost, by the way? 50 million. Could you not afford that?
Absolutely.
Well,
bonkers.
Chelsea paid £6.7 million for him. Wolfsburg paid 18 million in January of last year, and now we're talking about 50-odd million pounds.
He's a good player, but is he a great player in that respect?
What's frustrated me more than anything is how much the media has just absolutely shoveled this. Buckets and buckets of tears have been thrown towards Arsenal, putting flowers down outside the Emirates out of respect to the injury to Martin Ødegaard. There was absolutely zero respect being shown to Kevin De Bruyne when he got that injury last season. Zero. And Manchester City, it was a boost to everyone else. And I understood that at the time, but and following into this season and the pre-season talk was all about wishing an injury and wishing imagine Kevin De Bruyne gets injured, or imagine if Erling Haaland gets injured. How much did Haaland cost? 55 million. Oh, no one can afford that. You know what I mean? Do you know what the most expensive player at Arsenal is? 105 million for Declan Rice, and we have never spent that on a player. So don't come to me about your squad depth just because of your mismanaged football club, because you decide not to spend on cover for players, even though you have got cover for Odegaard. You could put Jorginho in there. You could put Havertz in there. That's a much better option, to be honest, but you've lost his goal threat because he's actually been finding the back of the net this season at a reasonable rate. I mean, obviously, I'm a City fan. I'm talking about a reasonable rate. We've got Erling Haaland, mate. So, I mean, that's the problem that the Premier League's suffering with right now, is that's what they're doing, is wishing injury on Erling Haaland, and that's what I've heard all season. Oh, what if Manchester City get an injury? Imagine if they lost Haaland. You know, when we won the league without a striker, before Haaland signed, Fernandinho lifting the trophy in 21-22 season, Gabriel Jesus was our only striker and he spent the majority of the season on the bench. So Arsenal signed him, and that title experience that Arsenal have now gained, and Zinchenko, Jesus and Zinchenko, title experience equals guaranteed titles. Didn't really work out that way, did it, in the end? Unfortunately, we did sign a striker, so we went from winning the league without a striker, signing a striker, and then continued to win the league. So it's like, where's the excuse going to be dropped? Because the money that was spent on Haaland, anyone could afford that in the top 6 of the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne was 50 million. You know, you go back and look at all the City players and the money that we've spent on individual players. You know, no one cost the amount that Declan Rice cost. So if you can cough up that for Declan Rice, you could have afforded all of our players, every single one of them. You could have purchased every single one of them if you wanted to. But you chose not to. You've spent your money elsewhere. Lesser players. And that's your problem. The fantasy of City losing players, yet when it happens to one of theirs, it's like, don't you dare disrespect our players. Don't call it a boost or anything like that. No, it's an absolute disgrace, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. Boo-hoo. That's what it is. Get over it, mate. Martin Ødegaard, first of all, it's an ankle, so this can range from a week to a few months, depending on the injury. I saw him limping off into a private jet, which is a little bit of a clue as well. I don't know the travel arrangements for Norway, but I imagine they travel together. That would be most football teams' approach to transportation. Let's go together, shall we? On one bus, one plane, one train, whatever it may be. But that looks like a private jet to me that Martin Ødegaard's getting on, which suggests to me he's going straight off for a scan on crutches. That isn't a good image from an Arsenal fan's point of view. That looks quite serious, but you never know. It could be minor. These things flare up really quickly and they swell down. It could come down just as quickly, so you never know. It might not be that bad. But the Arsenal fixtures as well, with the London derby coming up, the North London derby at least, with away to Spurs, away to Atalanta, and then away to Manchester City. If you've not got Odegaard for those 3 games, it's a big blow. There's no two ways about it. And the continuation of the Arsenal, therefore, they've done bad in the transfer window. Well, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for Arsenal, and they can only blame themselves for that. And once again, it's karma again for me. I just remember the disrespect that Kevin De Bruyne was shown, and they all went very quiet when he came back and scored the equaliser against Newcastle away at St James's Park, and then assisted Oscar Bob in the 93rd minute to make it 3-2. City go and get 3 points on the Premier League, and vital 3 points that proved to be. Kevin De Bruyne has been a constant thorn in the side of Arsenal over the years, whereas Martin Ødegaard, what's he done? What's he achieved in the game? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, Kai Havertz has achieved a lot more than Ødegaard, so you've got a more experienced player coming into that position. But there's no two ways about it. Ødegaard, the number one chance creator for Arsenal, is missing, and that's a massive blow. A massive blow. City's fixtures are, in the next 3 games at least, at home. All 3 at home, in fact. Home to Brentford, home to Inter, and then home to Arsenal, of course. And if we face Arsenal without Ødegaard, his defensive work's underrated. I do feel like he's a very good presser of the ball. He closes down incredibly well. His chance creation is good, but I tell you what, ego's missing against us. I don't remember Martin Ødegaard putting in a decent performance against us and getting himself an assist or a goal or anything like that. I can't remember Martin Ødegaard doing serious damage against Manchester City. So I don't think City fans have too much to make of this one way or the other. I feel like Arsenal will be, the defence is where Arsenal will be, the game will be won or lost, because they parked the bus last season against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. They will try to do the same again. They will park the bus, especially if they're missing, they've lost that potency up front. If they're losing Ødegaard and having to drop players from the scoring side of things, from Havertz into a deeper position, that it doesn't nullify, but it certainly reduces their goal threat. And that just bodes more into the idea that they'll go defensive. And it's exactly what they did. And I remember them saying it's a good point last season. It's a good point. Well, they dropped 2 points at the Etihad. They would have won the league. Had they come to us and beaten us, they would have won the league if they had some balls on them. But they didn't. And they'll do it again. And it's going to cost them. And I have no sympathy. So the idea that Manchester City can get an injured player, a key injured player, and no one sheds a tear, no one gives 2 shits. If anything, it's a boost to the opposition, and it's a disguise, blessing in disguise, you know? Why should we be sympathetic now to Ødegaard? Tell me why. Because I've heard nothing but wish after wish that Manchester City players get injured. You know? Just to give yourself to level the playing field, as they call it. Bollocks, mate. Looking forward to the season now. Let's see what it brings.
This is typical City now.